Welcome to the Passion Beyond Art podcast. It's all about learning the story behind the passion of awesome individuals. It's your host, Daryl Pinnock. Today, I have an awesome guest, awesome musician, and songwriter, Patrick Breen. Enjoy. All right, so let's kick it off. How did it get started for Patrick? How did this musical journey, what age, when did the light go off for Patrick?
It's tough, man. I really remember really early on in my life. I always tell people my earliest memory of music is jumping around on my parents' couch when I couldn't have been older than 3 years old. Jumping around on the couch with this little plastic guitar that I had, this toy, just pretending I was playing guitar along with the Beatles. And that was kind of I look back on those times and it makes sense that I do what I do now, but the pursuit of that passion was way more gradual.
Right.
I think like most people, I spent a lot of my adolescence just desperate to fit in and trying to do what my friends were doing or trying to do what I saw the cool kids doing, right? And that wasn't really music, man. I took piano lessons from 7 to 14, and my mom would have to pick me up early from school, and I used to just hope that nobody would see me walking down the hall, leaving early, spark a conversation. Hey, man, where you going? I didn't want anybody to know because that wasn't cool, But I think as you develop a little bit and you kind of you give in a little bit, right? You can't. I don't think you can. I think you can only run from a calling for so long until you're just completely, utterly dissatisfied and unhappy with your life. So really, to be honest with you, I started really when I got a guitar. That was like the next level. There was a rule in my family. You have to play piano for 7 years. And like I said, it wasn't cool. So when I was 14, I was out of there, man. I was just like, I'm going to go play sports. I'm going to go do something that's, fits in with society's definition of what I'm supposed to be. And I'm going to go for it. And my mom bought me a guitar in high school one Christmas or something. And it just kind of sat there for a while. But I remember towards, the last couple of years of high school, I was starting to play around with some friends of mine. And really, my senior year and that summer before my freshman year of college, I was all in. I remember going to college I need to find some guys to jam with. Sure enough, first night I go to a meet and greet with my major at college.
Gotcha.
I find two guys who were yo, let's play some music. And the rest is history. I was in a band for 4 years, and one thing led to another. Bands break up, and the band breaking up was really my crossroad.
Gotcha.
And that was me pushing forward and saying, I'm going to do this, even though this doesn't look like I thought it was going to look, and this is going to make me a little uncomfortable to put myself out there. But that was kind of that was day one for me, man. So it was a long road, right?
Yeah.
And it was very gradual. I mean, you hear a lot of kids that just know, boom, this is what I'm doing. And they're classically trained. They go to Berkeley. There are options, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of good in that. But I think the fact that I tried a lot in my adolescence and even in my early adult years, really just makes me when the storms come in, so to speak, I just know I gotta, batten down the hatch, and I'm,
you know what you got to do because you've been through it.
Yeah, man, there's no off ramps anymore. This is what I'm here to do. So
sounds awesome. But that's a crazy rule that you said that everybody has to play piano for at least 7 years. That's insane.
It's so funny. My great grandfather his livelihood was piano. He studied piano at the university level. I never met him, but he was, technically very excellent, taught piano, and tuned pianos for a living. You think of the way that our society works now, and you automatically picture somebody like that as, okay, they probably didn't make a lot of money, but I mean, he had to work. My grandfather tells me about him. It was my mother's father's father, right? So
Gotcha.
my grandfather tells me about this man, and just his work ethic, man. I have so much respect for this guy and like the path that he kind of paved for in an indirect way for me,
Right.
because I don't know where I would be without that foundation and this rule that he set. Everybody has to play for at least 7 years.
I wish somebody in my family had that kind of rule. That's an insane rule. I may take it on for my kids, man.
Yeah,
That is insane. I've
yeah,
never I've never heard anything like that. That's
it's
insane.
crazy, man.
That's insane. So when people hear Patrick playing, like, what is that? What do you want them to feel? What's the experience like? What experience are you trying to create each time you play, each time you perform, each time you pick up that guitar?
It's cool, man. It's been like I said, a long journey, and I've kind of found myself learning the process a lot as I go. Like, most people, I didn't start out an expert. I'm not currently an expert. I am kind of the sum of the hours that I've put in, right? And I'm learning.
Don't sell yourself short, though, man. Don't
Thank you,
don't
dude.
don't
I
sell yourself
appreciate
short, man. You're
I
pretty
really
darn good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. But I think it's kind of it's very multifaceted, everything. But I mean, the person that I am when I'm thinking about a song, um, is, stripped down, is just a storyteller. You
Gotcha.
know what I mean? I really, and a lot of people look me up right now and they'll see kind of the music that I've put out so far. Um, Yeah, and I'm very proud of that early kind of collection of songs that I was able to write and put out and collaborate with some great musicians and a great producer. And now I'm just at kind of the next evolution of myself, right?
Gotcha.
I'm at the next evolution of a storyteller, a musician, a songwriter, a producer, an instrumentalist, a thinker, and and I think right now, as a songwriter, I get asked a lot what my songs are about, and I tread very lightly because I don't want anything to happen with the listener where anything that I say takes away from their experience. Does that make sense?
Makes
So
a lot of sense.
I may write a song. This is just an example. This hasn't happened yet. I may write a song about in adoration over my childhood pet, for
Right.
example, and it may use some romantic language, and people may think of a romantic relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Gotcha.
I definitely strive as a songwriter to use language and rhetoric, I guess, um, that is kind of universal enough. Like, stripped down, I think it's like, what am I really feeling? What am I really experiencing? And it's smart songwriting. And I don't say that in kind of to boast on myself. I'm the current record that I'm working on. I'm collaborating and co-producing with a couple of my bandmates, and I've worked with a couple of different writers, but one in particular. Um, and we just sit and we think, man. We think about these stories, and um, my goal with songwriting is to put you in your own life. Like,
Gotcha.
I wrote a song a while back about a relationship that ended poorly, and I wrote a song about kind of the it was really a snapshot of a day in the life at that moment in time for me in getting over someone.
Gotcha.
And I've talked to a lot of people, and it means a lot of different things for them. And that's all that matters to me. You know what I
No,
mean?
I get you 100%. Got you
It's
100%.
As a performer, I like, straight up, man, we're in a really strange time with music, and just kind of like, you know, people's experience with music right now is different than it was, a decade ago or even 5 years ago. And man, frankly, I want people to come out and have a good time. If you like to party, come out and party. If you like to just vibe out and listen to some music and appreciate good musicianship, I want to offer that for you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's real. And ultimately, I think a point that I missed really early on was that performance in stage and in live, whether it's theater or music or whatever, the performer cannot exist without the audience. And to do everything that you can to bring them in and to focus on the one person who's not on their cell phone, right? And to focus on the people who are paying attention and just really like give what you got to them, rather than it being just kind of like an ego thing or look at me on stage. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I never want to be that performer. I never want to be that musician. It's all about the fans and what I can offer to you, because that's why I got started with music in the first place, because it made such a difference in my life early on when I had friends. I wasn't terribly lonely, but
Right.
I was a little bit of a loner. I always kind of felt like an outcast.
Gotcha.
And to kind of go home and turn my music on and to hear, the great songwriters that I love to listen to just kind of make me feel like I wasn't the only person on planet Earth who felt like this.
Gotcha.
Man, that's the gift, man. That's the gift. So,
Awesome.
that's what I try to think about.
Awesome. And I've heard like that expression from some musicians that I admire. Like they're not necessarily trying to interpret what each listener gets. Like they're just hoping that the listener gets something from it. You know what I mean? They're not trying to too much say, oh, you have to interpret it as happy music or you have to interpret it as sad music. It's like you just got to get something from it. And so this is not the first time I'm hearing that term, which it makes sense. You know what I mean? It makes sense. So,
Yeah.
dude, like I know it's not always been easy, right? So, what's your pillar? Like, who is your pillar? Not so much what, but who would you say is your support system? Say when Patrick is down on art, or just need some pick me up. Like, who is your support system?
Yeah, first and foremost, I lean on God for everything, man, and that's number one.
Gotcha.
But it's tough. Obviously, my parents and my girlfriend, they're always there for me. And they're so. It's so kind of like I get something different from each of them.
Gotcha.
And my cousin Doug, who's he's my best dude. You know what I mean? He's always there for me, and he believes in me and encourages me and just pours into me and challenges me. He's another one. And like my team is great, man.
Gotcha.
Like I'm really. It wasn't always like this. My parents have always loved me, always supported my dream. But early on, they were nervous for me, man. You know what I mean? When I didn't
trust me, I feel you.
have a couple of cool contacts in my phone book, when I didn't have, a couple of thousand people interested in me on the internet. You know what I mean? Like not to talk like I'm some guy. Believe me, I'm very humble and very much on the upcoming. But I'm making tracks. You know what I mean? I'm accomplishing a couple of things, and I'm getting closer every year to where I want to be. And it's kind of in a spot right now, but all I can say is like, even my girlfriend, when we first started dating, man, she was just like, oh man, like she didn't straight up say like, I'm not sure about this, but you could tell by some of the other questions she asked, well, when's this going to happen? When's this going to happen? And now that she sees more of the process and knows like the guys that I work with and the potential, I think everybody is there kind of, You know, it's a small circle, man. You can't let too many people in because the bottom line is like, unfortunately, and you learn this lesson the hard way, a lot of people who say they care about you don't. A lot of people who ask how they can contribute and how, hey, what's going on, really don't care.
Right.
And it's a harsh reality, but it just teaches you. It teaches you about quality over quantity. You know, I would rather have a few good men and women in my life than, you know, like in college, I just had, you know,
Everybody.
20 people I could call at
Right.
any given time to get a slice of pizza and have a great conversation. And, you know, you lose that as you get out of school and you kind of find your way in the real world. And, yeah, man, I mean, you know, those people, you know, my best friend Lindsay is great too, but yeah, I'm very blessed and very lucky.
No, that's awesome, man. I like that you said God, you put God first. But you
Yeah,
see, a lot of times with our loved ones, it's like they want the best for us and they don't want to see us fail. That when
yeah,
we go too far out, they're like, oh, I'm not too sure about that, but that's what you really need to do. You kind of got to take some kind of risk and kind of put yourself out there, but it's just that safe factor. They don't want to see you fail a lot of times, and
yeah,
yeah, it kind of
yeah.
keeps them
And
worried.
they misguide you in hurtful ways. And, you know, my folks didn't do that. I mean, definitely extended family have scratched their head at me and said, well, you know, and look, everybody's, you know, you got to realize, you know, young bucks out there, you got to realize that it takes a little while. It takes a little while of kind of eating crap. You know what I mean? Just like taking it on the chin and
Yeah,
just like, ultimately, man, the art, the music, the craft, whatever it is, has got to be bigger than you.
right.
Because if it's ego driven, that can only sustain you for so long, you know?
I like that, man. It's true, and it's a good thing that you said that because people need to hear that. Like you got to put in you got to put in some work, you got to put in some time because it's not, we've kind of been fed this overnight kind of deal, like this
It's
microwave, and it's a lie.
such a lie, man.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's such a lie.
lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. So, when you, what would you consider like the biggest struggles, the top couple struggles? A story would be great, but like your biggest struggles with building, you know, what you're trying to build and as a musician or just trying to build, your brand. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean the whole branding and finding your sound and all of that, it's literally just nonstop trial and error. It really is. I mean, you know, a lot of people like, you know, some of the videos that I do online right now, and it's kind of just a way for me to share some ideas and stay engaged with my audience while I'm finishing up the real prize, the real gift,
Right,
the songs.
right,
But you know, I'm writing every day and doing all that. But that, I mean, when it comes to like struggles with building your brand and all that, I mean, I would just say like just stay at it, write all the time. You know, we live in a visual world now, so you've got to be a photographer, you've got to be a videographer, you've got to be a video editor, you've got to be, you know, you got to know your chops as a music producer. You just like, and it's we like people look at the amount of work that it takes to master all these skills. And man, I just look at like I would love to bring somebody from 50 years ago into the modern world and sit them down in front of the internet for a day. Like, can you imagine Plato and Socrates and Aristotle with the wealth of knowledge that we have on the
right,
internet? I don't mean to sound too out there, but like, yo, we are human beings, which is so rare to
right.
be a human being, just scientifically. In the odds, like you are a champion just biologically. I'm not gonna go into the details, but like that's got to be your mindset. Like you can accomplish so much. You are living in the greatest time. I know everybody's like politics this, politics that, world events this, you know, gender issues that, race issues this. And those are all very prominent issues, but that doesn't change the fact that we are living in the dopest time in human history. No question. The possibilities, man. Anyway, not to digress. but stay rooted in that truth, and you can overcome any of these struggles. But yeah, it's just, man, it's tough. My father sent me an encouraging email the beginning of last week, and just basically saying, man, you know, I applaud you man to man for pursuing something in a world that bases an individual's worth by the size of their paycheck. And my father is an amazing man. And he just got this wealth of knowledge, right? And every once in a while, he hits me with something like that. And it's just like, gets me dead to rights. And that couldn't be more true. You know, we live in a world where everybody wants to make money. And you can make money a lot of really cool ways on the internet and using music. And you may not go out and sell 1 million records and get to buy a house in Beverly Hills off of the residuals from those album sales. It just may not happen. That's not the world we live in anymore. You may not get to make all your money by going on glamorous world tours, but there's a lot that you can do today as a musician. And it's just, man, it all comes back to mindset. It all comes back to, am I going to let these challenges cripple me, or am I going to rise to the occasion, you know, access my strength, access my courage, not go seeking outward for those things, realizing that those things are inside of me, and stepping out in my day with that mindset. And man, I do some crazy stuff to hype myself up. Crazy stuff.
Give me an example.
There's a pastor I follow, Stephen Furtick, for one. He'll put out some stuff on iTunes, just little mantras.
Yeah, I know
that he'll just talk to you. You know what I'm talking about. And it just hypes you up. And before I go into a vocal session, I'll have nobody else exists in the world for that minute except for me and Furtick, and we're just vibing out, and I'm getting pumped up, and I'm jumping up and down, and I'm just like,
he's intense too. Like,
yeah, you gotta psych yourself up though, man. You can't just.
True.
Everybody's like, oh, encourage me, somebody help, and we play the victim, man. We think we're the only person ever in human history to experience problems.
Facts.
Or, I mean, read the Diary of Anne Frank and then think about your problems.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You don't have it that bad after all.
You know, I mean, most of us, even with our long list of problems, because I don't want to,
especially in America, especially in this country, like,
yeah, man. I mean, look, we're never gonna be living in a time where everything is just peace and love and happiness and everybody agrees and there's no BS. But sometimes we just need perspective. And don't get me wrong, I have my days where somebody says something to me online, or, you know, one of my closest friends will unfollow me, and I'm just like, really? Like, come on, man. So, I mean, back to struggles, because I'll get off topic talking about life and all that stuff. I think the biggest struggles are monetary. For just being real, like, it took me a long time to start making some money.
Gotcha.
And, you know, you can go out and just do a bunch of legwork and play out in bars every night, and, you know, come home with a couple $100, and, you know, that's not a bad way. You get to build your chops, and I did that for a while.
Right.
But it's kind of like looking at guys like, you know, all of these entrepreneurs right now who are like kind of revolutionizing the residual income market. Like, how can you take your unique skill set and do something that is of service to others and also kind of generate some income for yourself? So there's just the money thing is tough. As creatives, we got big hearts, and there's kind of two sides of the coin, right? Your greatest strength is your ability to tie in to human emotion and to really articulate that in unique ways. But the other side of the coin is, man, do you feel everything, man? You feel it. You feel it. I mean, I'll see somebody on the street that breaks my heart, and I'll go home and like cry about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, you hate that pain, and sometimes you wish you could just be cold or
Yeah, just forget about it, not feel
yeah.
it.
You wish like the lack of the support from your friends didn't hurt you the way that it does.
Right.
Um, but it all comes back to perspective. You know, you focus less on what you don't have and more on what you do have. And it's tough. Like, it is a daily discipline. It is a lifelong practice. And it's like, you know, you gotta treat your bad attitude the same way that a recovering alcoholic treats a drink. I think.
Right. Makes sense.
I mean to
Makes
be
sense.
insensitive or kind of minimize somebody who's suffering with substance abuse, because that's a real issue. But like, you got to have that serious of an attitude against your negativity.
Right. It's got to be a daily practice, really.
Yeah, and um, I would say, you know, emotions for sure, the money for sure, and I think expectations would be the last struggle. My biggest disappointments in life have been because of failed expectations. And like that band that I was in college, I went all in on that, bro. I went all in.
Gotcha.
All in. I had no career plan, no nothing after school. We went all in. We had a decent sized band, and there were some guys who would come in and play different instruments, but there were really four key members,
Gotcha.
four guys that were like, yo, and I founded the band with two other guys. And then we brought in, like I said, we brought in a bunch of guys. When we brought in our saxophone player, he was kind of like the fourth kind of head member of the band. And the other two founding members, the bass player and the drummer, got to go off. And we recorded a bunch of songs. We wrote so much music. And for where we were in our lives, they were pretty fun songs. We had a lot of fun. We were kind of like a jam band, you know. It was just,
Gotcha.
it was a great live performance, right? And they got to go off, and they got picked up by another band and got to go off on a national tour. And I kind of asked them, okay, well, when you're done with tour, like, we'll finish our project. Like, it was supposed to be just for summer. And they were kind of like, yeah, we're going to see this out. You're not. I felt like the girl who doesn't get the hint when, oh, it's not you, it's me. You know what I mean? And I had no idea, because I didn't sing back then. I played guitar and wrote songs. It's hard to go off and do music when that's your skill set.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I wasn't good enough at guitar to go off and be a session player. You know what I mean? Like,
Gotcha.
I couldn't just move to Nashville and get gigs. Like, I
Right.
wasn't. I was 21. You know what I mean? I had a lot of growing to do. And man, that was devastating. That was probably the biggest letdown in my music career, just because it blindsided me.
Right.
Like, and these were my best friends in the world. Like I said, I didn't, I had friends in high school, but I went to school. I went to public school all through middle school with same kids that I grew up with. And then my parents made me go to private school because I was kind of slacking off in public school, and they knew if I was going to go to college, I had to go to private school. And in private school, I kind of spent 4 years trying to fit in and make friends and all that. When I got to college, these guys were the friends that I was longing for. You know what I mean? The friends that I wanted to have that stereotypical high school experience, that brotherhood with. And, when our band ended, man, like, that was devastating.
Man.
I'm not being as candid as I could be, but I took it really hard. But like the Phoenix, man, sometimes something has to die for something new to be reborn. And that was really the beginning of kind of my metamorphosis into, the dude who you see today that is, still fighting for it, still growing and adapting and trying new things. But, sometimes your expectations have to die for something better to be waiting for you on the other side. And you have to get a little bit down the road to have kind of the foresight. But now, because of the experiences that I've had, and that's just one of many, that's one of many.
Right.
I could talk to you for 2 hours about every misfire, every thing that I thought was, every time I thought the road was going right and it was going left, and I had to backtrack and then go down the other road, but you got to be a fighter, man. You can't let that resistance get into your spirit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just have the faith that if something didn't go the way you thought it was supposed to, chances are something's better is waiting for you.
Man, I love it, man. Like that's some good insight right there, man. Because a lot of people, like, somebody see you, you got all this following, and it's like everything is all gravy for Patrick. Like he kind of just jumped out the womb, just doing it like this, and it's good for people to hear stuff like that. Like, they might be in the middle of struggling right now, and they'd be like, you know what?
Yeah, man.
This is real helpful. So
Absolutely.
We're getting ready to finish. Before we finish, are you able to play? Are you set up to play or not?
Kind of. Not really.
Right,
Not really. I would love to, but I would love to do that, but I want to do it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Nah, that's all good. I didn't give you a heads up.
I really appreciate the opportunity, but definitely I will be playing these new songs for everybody, because that's the thing. I would want to play the new stuff. I don't want to play the old stuff, but I can't play stuff yet till it comes. You know what I mean?
No, it's all good, man.
You get it, bro.
So
but I appreciate it.
What advice? I know you've given a ton of advice, but one advice that you would like to give, up and coming musicians, current musicians, what advice would you like to give a musician?
That's tough. I mean, there's so much, man. There's so much.
Top 2.
Work hard. Just every day. Do it every day. If you want to be a songwriter, write songs every day. If you want to be a singer, sing every day. If you want to be a good musician, play your instrument every day. Work hard, man. Work so hard that if I'm not saying all the time, because we all need to blow off some steam, but if you're not turning down your friends when they call you to hang out because you got to stay in and rehearse, or this is the only time in your week where you've got to do your thing because your job has been out of control and you just got to sit down with your instrument. If you're not doing that every once in a while, you're not doing it right. So work hard. Trust your calling. You got to have faith when nobody else has faith in you.
Gotcha, man.
And lastly, put others before yourself. And that's a good rule for life, but especially in music. Especially that you've got to approach every song, because that'll give you. Right now, I'm writing a lot of songs that I didn't think I could tell. I didn't think I could admit some of this dirt, some of this uncleanliness, I didn't think I could talk about some of this stuff. But what changed my mind was, okay, my dysfunction, my hurt, my pain, all of that might serve somebody else. All of that might save somebody else who's going through this. And, not to sound holier than thou or anything, it took a long time to have the courage to think that way. And it took a lot of people pouring into my life in a positive way to have, and it took me seeing some tough stuff in life, man. Some just really tough scenarios that have played out just across the board. But yeah, you've got to be putting others before yourself. Like, how can you manufacture generosity on a daily basis? How can you find, if you're like me and you've got, you know, some semblance of a social media following, who can you be reaching out to? Do you check your inbox?
Right.
You know what I mean? Do you check your requested messages to see if there's anybody in there who needs help?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not automatic. But what you find is that through encouraging others, you find the very encouragement that you yourself seek. So,
Dude.
you know, that's it.
Facts, man. Love it, man. Love it. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast, man.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
I hope, you know, we keep this going, you know,
Yes.
constant, keeping in touch. But man, love what you're doing. Keep it up, man. Like for real, like no facade, nothing. Like I really admire what you're doing, man. Just keep it up, man.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you.
Hey, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Blessings.
Yeah, you too. Yes, man. You too.
All right, deuces.
All right, I'll talk to you. Peace.